Welcome to the Honest Media. Today is Thursday, May 25th, 2017. We have a lot to talk about on this episode of the Honest Media, everything from what's going on at Fox News to what's going on in Silicon Valley, and I think we're going to start there. There's an article from Recode.com, which of course is one of these left-leaning tech websites where they celebrate any and everything that may take down President Trump, the democratically elected president. And again, this is from Recode.com. How Silicon Valley is trying to topple Trump, beginning with a special election in Montana. And of course, this is the same special election where the Republican allegedly body slammed a reporter, which all I can say is thank God there's finally some accountability in media.
Mm-hmm.
But
I'd like to see that video if it exists.
There is no video.
Yeah.
That's it. This reeks of what happened with Corey Lewandowski about a year ago. But we'll go on to the article. Roughly 2 months before voters would head to the ballot box in Montana, Jessica Alter received a request. Could she recruit some tech experts to help a Democratic office seeker, once viewed as a long-shot candidate, win a seat in the U.S. Congress? And the article goes on to talk about how they're going to recruit people from Silicon Valley, the same people who have these Facebook marketing firms, probably some of the same people who helped the trending news algorithm become so biased. And this is basically the reason why she says she wants to use her clout from her high-in-the-sky pedestal in the mountains of Silicon Valley to influence us lowly, deplorable hill folk in the boonies of the Midwest. And this is what she says. The first travel ban, the Muslim ban, put me over the edge, candidly because my father's family was in the Holocaust, and my grandmother was very active in the Belgian underground, and I just imagined, what would she do? So this whole thing, this woman who is one of these tech millionaires, no doubt, she wants to influence elections all across the country from her place of higher being in California because she overdosed on some fake news, yellow journalism, and believes Trump is literally Hitler.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like she's a George Soros wannabe.
If only George Soros had a little bit better grasp on the internet. I mean, clearly from the open...
I'm sure he has his guys on it.
Well, after that hack last year, no doubt. But this is really interesting because we all know the tech giants hate Trump. We all know they hate anybody just a little bit right of center, even when these guys like John McCain cuck and try to get on their side. The leftists in big technology, big internet as it's been called on this show before, they're still going to be against you. They want full-out communism because they don't understand how anything works. So you go, the article goes on and on and on and on. Tech for campaigns is just one of the many offshoots of the so-called resistance, that flood of millennial-dominated outfits that are trying to fight Trump, and in the process, bring a Silicon Valley sensibility to the Democratic Party. There's Swing Left, for example, which has sought to raise money in crucial congressional districts in a bid to topple Republicans. ResistBot hit the scene earlier this year in an effort to help voters more seamlessly communicate their political views with elected officials. And Higher Ground Labs is a new attempt by some former President Barack Obama digital aides to invest in cutting-edge campaign tech startups. The only thing I can hope is that I don't know who they're going to reach, because millennials came out for Trump in record numbers. Not that he won the millennial vote, but he got more of us than anybody anticipated. Now, the second thing about this, the majority of people who vote are still boomers. It's what it is, boomers and above. I don't think that helping them use Facebook to connect with their elected officials, I just don't see it happening. So
it's just old school brainwashing techniques.
I guess they're hoping that they'll get them young, right?
Yep.
Get them while they're infants, convince them that Trump is literally Hitler, as this woman seems to heartfully be convinced.
Everybody's literally Hitler now.
That's right.
It's a widespread phenomenon.
If you're not literally Stalin, in that you want a full socialist, communist workers' paradise where everybody starves equally, then you're literally Hitler.
Yeah.
Anything right of Stalin is literally Hitler. So, but really, this is just it's an example of this type of elitism. And we can see it's the same exact thing that they're using to try to destroy us on the right in the media. We know better than you do. We know that you're hurting these people, even though all you're doing is journalism.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that, let's turn to what's happening at Fox News, which it seems like every week on this show we're talking about what's happening at Fox News.
Yeah, I don't. It's a mess.
There were the unfounded allegations about O'Reilly. He settled some suits a few years ago even.
Mm-hmm.
There was Roger Ailes ousted because Megyn Kelly said he groped her or something along those lines. And it just seems like Fox News has been previously number one for years in the cable news ratings, is down to number 3. They're really not doing themselves any favors with their viewers. And this is just the latest example. Now, this is some kind of good news. They gave the same kind of indications with Roger Ailes and with Bill O'Reilly. But from Variety, Fox News says Sean Hannity will return to his show. And of course, they've been trying to bring Hannity down by making what happened to deceased DNC staffer Seth Rich into the next Pizzagate. Where, of course, Pizzagate was trying to figure out if there was any truth to a worldwide pedophile conspiracy among the elites. Well, the media made it all about this pizza parlor.
Yeah.
Which we won't even say on the air because God knows they will sue.
They were trying to distract from the real issue.
Exactly.
Which is what they do all the time with every news story.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So they made it all about this one little pizza parlor, and everybody would mention the pizza parlor.
And it turns out there is a giant pedophile ring amongst the elites.
But it's not in the pizza parlor. We
Yeah.
have to be completely clear about this.
As far as we know.
If Alex Jones does a retraction, we're not even going there.
Yeah.
But then, so yeah, they make it all about this pizza parlor. They're doing the same thing with Seth Rich, which Sean Hannity has a private investigator on his program who says, hey, there's a development in the Seth Rich case. The police aren't helping me. I'm doing the stuff on my own. The family doesn't want me to do it, but I'm doing the stuff on my own. So the family contacts Fox News and says, please stop putting us through this heartache. Hey, have you ever heard of changing the channel, Rich family?
Yeah.
But so now they go after Fox News. They go after Sean Hannity in particular because he's doing bad journalism by talking about the new updates in this story that is baffling everybody. It's the perfect murder mystery. It's what Americans love.
Well, you know, he wouldn't be catching so much heat for this if he wasn't onto something, so.
That's another thing. You know, you don't catch flack unless you're over the target.
Yeah.
And
what, just a couple weeks ago, they were trying to pin sexual harassment lawsuits on him. Now it's this.
That's right. And we saw him tweeting just a few days ago. Media Matters is trying to convince advertisers to pull their money and destroy me. Please help. If Fox News, if they lost Roger Ailes, who was the brains behind the operation, everybody knows that. He died about a year later because when you retire, it's very unfortunate. Your mortality likelihood of dying goes way up. Now, so they lost Roger Ailes. They've lost Bill O'Reilly. Bill O'Reilly is now going to the Blaze, which I can't figure out why on earth.
Really?
I can't figure out why on earth you would
Oh
do
my
that. I don't know what Glenn Beck, what kind of hypnosis brainwashing he did to him.
Cheetos.
Just the Cheeto video. You can Google it at home, folks. The Cheeto video in really slow motion.
Yeah, that just got Bill O'Reilly going, I guess.
But now, if they out Sean Hannity, the whole crew is gone. All they've got left that makes the network worth watching to people who voted for Trump and people who are loyal to Trump is Judge Jeanine on the weekends and Tucker Carlson on weeknights. And Tucker Carlson, great as he may be, I don't think he can carry the network. We've got to take a moment off. We will be right back. You're watching The Honest Media with Tom Pappert and Craig Crisler. Welcome back to The Honest Media. I am Tom Baffert, here again, as always, with Craig Crisler. We're still talking about what's going on with Fox News and Sean Hannity. And, this is one of the things the left does. They attack your source of income. People have done it to me personally on a much smaller level. They go to your boss, they say you're a bigot, blah, blah, blah. They try to get you fired. In Fox News' case, they go to the advertisers and say, hey, you're supporting a misogynist. You're supporting a fake news. You're supporting a fake newser. And then this is what happens. A handful of small advertisers, including Cars.com, have indicated they were moving their commercials out of Hannity's program in the aftermath, prompting comparisons to the recent exit of Bill O'Reilly. O'Reilly was a linchpin of Fox News' primetime lineup and parted ways after sponsors defected from his O'Reilly factor, following revelations that he made approximately $13 million in settlements to women who alleged that he had sexually harassed them or subjected them to inappropriate behavior. So this is how it works. They go to the advertisers. They go to your money. And that is why the things that we do now on the right, look at what's happening to Target. Target is like a ghost town. Look at what's happening to Kellogg's cereal. It's like, again, nobody wants to buy that trash anymore because they come out and they do things that are anti-Trump. So we have to learn to play this game.
Yeah. Should have been playing a long time ago.
Because we have the money.
Yeah.
That's what nobody seems to remember. The left, they have daddy's money. They have what's left of their student loans.
Yeah.
But the people on the right, by and large, are the ones with the jobs, the savings, the income, the ability to make luxury purchases that they just don't have on the left.
It's nothing new. They've been doing this since the dawn of time.
Well, it's their standard playbook, and frankly, it works. Otherwise, we wouldn't have seen Roger Ailes leave, and we wouldn't have seen Bill O'Reilly leave.
They're getting rid of all the old guard. Supposedly, the Murdoch boys are trying to take over, and they want to turn Fox News into the new Sky News, which then it'll really suck. I don't know if you watch Sky News, but...
Only when the British Prime Minister is resigning.
Yeah.
Then I'll watch a little bit of Sky News. But
I watch it live on YouTube when people are getting blown up in Europe. That's about it.
And frankly, this is the thing about it. Fox News is covered in that they're so petrified at this point, and I would be too in their position because they're so dependent on advertisers that they can't cover. I mean, half of these stories that we've got here, they will not be able to cover simply because, oh no, what if somebody gets offended? What if somebody who doesn't even like our network, hates our being, gets offended?
Well, they were probably the only big network making money because I know CNN and all them were losing money for quite some time.
And they all should be thanking Trump and kissing his feet and bowing beneath him because thanks to Trump, everybody's ratings are way up. Everybody is getting more viewers.
Because of that anti-Trump hysteria, people watching that guy Mad Owl and
Mad Cow. It's that. It's Zermatt. It's Anderson Cooper, the CIA plant. It's all of these people who they're just so wrapped up in their what is the guy's name who committed treason a week or so ago? I can't even think of it right now. But asked foreign governments to either assassinate or otherwise topple President Trump's administration. These are what you get on the mainstream major network news, cable news, we should say, and.
A lot of interesting videos of Anderson Cooper out there wearing leather and
the pictures
doing weird
of him
things.
Doing the, I mean, it's
you can look it up online.
It's an alternative lifestyle, but it's not something that I would expect a major news anchor to be involved in. Frankly, but that's just me. I'm one of those right-wing bigots, But this is the type of story that you would want to see massive coverage of on Fox News, and instead they have to be basically, this is the problem with conservative media by and large. They only respond to what the left says. So this week the left is going to be saying, well, Trump actually meant, well, what if he did? Well, is he really in as big of trouble as the Democrats say? And that is why nobody sees Trump's agenda being accomplished. As an example from the Dallas Daily News, the Dallas Morning News, I apologize. Pew. Refugee arrivals in the United States decline sharply. And then, of course, they have to include the cuck line, as world crisis grows. And it goes on, as promised by the administration of President Donald Trump, the number of new refugees arriving in the U.S., especially Texas, is in sharp decline, says Pew Research Center. Portions of a controversial executive order by Trump cut by half the number of planned refugee arrivals this year. Refugee and settlement has thus dropped nearly 70% from October to April of this year. That's October 16 to April, of course, of 17. California, another leading destination state for refugees, saw a decline of about 60% from October to April, according to Pew data. President Trump's executive order called for a ceiling of 50,000 refugee arrivals this year. The previous administration, under President Barack Obama, set a goal of 110,000. And then, of course,
we should have zero. It does us no benefit to have any of these people here.
But
just look at Europe.
That is what the extreme vetting is for. You bring in the intelligent ones, the ones who have paperwork, the doctors,
apply to be
the
a
doctors,
citizen and
the lawyers,
go through the process.
the engineers, etc.
We don't need to scoop up hordes of immigrants and just drop them off in Detroit.
Hey, maybe they could fix Detroit. Yeah. I would be interested.
They're doing a real good job.
I would be interested in seeing that social experiment.
Well, it's already happening. Can't remember the name of the town, but it's right Dearborn.
Yeah, but that's in Michigan.
Yeah.
Which of course but that's different areas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Dearborn, Michigan is one of the top destinations for refugee resettlement. In fact, Michigan in general, it's a miracle Trump won. I guess maybe the people are seeing what happens when you bring in people who don't necessarily assimilate.
If you're not a Muslim, you can't even go in that town.
I mean, we can talk about that. We can move forward and throw our production guy through a roof right here. But you know, what happened in Great Britain just the other day in Manchester, it's a very startling case for the idea that these people do not,
and if you want to tie that back to the left-wing news, when that was going on, Fox News, of course, was reporting on the bombing and everything, and I switched over to CNN and MSNBC, and what were they talking about? Russia.
That's right. They
the
cut
whole
back
time.
to Russia. The important thing, and the one guy, the treasonous guy.
They didn't even care
about,
if kids got blown up.
The treasonous guy. Yeah. I can't remember his name, but I'm glad because he doesn't deserve to have his name mentioned. He's smiling and he says, "Oh, this is a great day for our country. We're gonna take down Trump. We're gonna take." Who cares about dead kids across the pond?
Yeah.
We're going to take down Trump, guys. Come on. All right, we got to take a quick...
That's all they care about.
That's all they care about. And we wrote an article about that last week, specifically about the Washington Post, but it applies to all of the mainstream media. Their goal is not to inform us, it is to manipulate us and bring down our president. We will be back in just a moment. We've got to take a few seconds off. You're watching The Honest Media with Tom Baffert and Craig Crisler. Welcome back to The Honest Media. Again, I'm Tom Baffert, your host. Last segment, we said we would start talking about what's happening in the United Kingdom, our great ally. Now, as Nigel Farage says, you think Britain's not safe? You think Brussels isn't safe? UK is right there, too. Mm-hmm. And this is just, you talked about the left-wing media. We talked about... these people don't assimilate because, of course, the attacker was the son of two refugees from the Middle East, from Libya, who fled Gaddafi back when he was alive.
They don't want to assimilate. They're not going to assimilate because they don't want to.
Well, they don't. They face no incentives to assimilate because there's welfare. They can speak their own language. They can live in their own neighborhoods. The government's going to keep sending checks. And you're a racist. You're a bigot. You're a Islamophobe.
Houses,
blah blah blah
everything,
blah blah.
Yeah.
And of course, the guy who came up with the term Islamophobe now says, "I thought they were going to assimilate. Can I take that one back?" And it's a little late for that. But this is Katie Hopkins, and this is an article in Infowars.com. from a friend of the show, Dan Lyman. This is what Hopkins had to say. We just had the threat level raised to critical, which is the maximum level, and the military are coming into our streets. What I always wondered, Tucker, she's on Tucker Carlson, is how did we go from saying, we are strong, stand united, we are not cowed, to tanks arriving on our streets? She continues, my children at breakfast this morning said, you know what? I would much rather be shot than caught in a bomb that's made of ball bearings. And I just wonder, what kind of conversation are we having here in the 21st century Great Britain when that's what children are growing up with? And she goes on to say in a tweet later that day something that frankly is a wonderful call to action, and it needs to be heeded. Western men, these are your wives, your daughters, your sons. Stand up, rise up, demand action. Do not carry on as normal. This was immediately found by a leftist who said, this is ridiculous. You were obviously inciting racial hatred. And then they tagged, or whatever you call it, on, they added, I don't know how Twitter works. They contacted the Metropolitan Police of the United Kingdom, who then said they would open a case against Hopkins for saying this tweet. Again, I'll read it again. Is this worthy of the thought police in the current year? Western men, these are your wives, your daughters, your sons. Stand up, rise up, demand action. Do not carry on as normal. Thought police are on their way.
Deuce Volt. All I gotta say.
And this is, I mean, Hopkins has in the past said some inflammatory things, but this is. There's nothing inflammatory about this. 22 kids just died.
Welcome
50
to Europe,
plus injured. Yeah, that's right. It makes me wonder.
Welcome to Europe, where it's okay to blow up children, but when you tell people that that's not right and you should do something about it,
that's the racist thing.
Yeah.
But you can tell people, you know, they say not to use this as an opportunity to incite Islamophobia, but they can use it as an opportunity to virtue signal and say, oh, there's nothing wrong. Remember, it's a very small minority, only 13% of all Muslims. That's only about 202 million Muslims. They say these things.
Isn't it like 60 or 70% of Muslims approve of Sharia law? And
I think it's
like
60%.
50 or 60% support ISIS, and this is
no, it's 13% support ISIS, which again, 202
the
million
refugee
people.
population. I think it's way
well, the
higher.
refugee population is different, which again, they're not refugees and economic
they're
migrants.
Invaders.
Yes, that's the best word.
Economic invaders.
Because you can't even call them economic migrants.
Yeah.
Economic migrants suggest that, like the Italians, the Irish, the people from even Mexico, they're going to come here, they're going to do it the right way, they're going to start businesses, they're going to bring value, they're going to create, they're going to bring their culture, they're going to meld into ours, it's going to be wonderful, it's going to be great. These people come, they want welfare.
Yep.
They're welfare migrants.
They want to rape, they want to chop heads off, they want to kill Christians.
Apparently they want to bomb people in, bomb people in Ariana Grande concerts.
Which she is absolutely terrible, but
nobody deserves what happened to her fans. And this is a woman, by the way, who once allegedly said she wishes her fans would all die.
Yeah.
She hates America. She hates Donald Trump. She hates Americans. And
she got what she wished for.
She's sitting there. She's wishing for. She hates Western civilization. She brings people who are not from Western civilization into her concerts, and this is how they treat her. Maybe she should be a little bit more understanding of the Western patriarchy, unless she really likes the Eastern patriarchy.
The answer is open borders and peace and love.
That's what Katy Perry says, right? Peace. And why don't we all just get
Satan
along?
worshiper Katy Perry.
Why don't we all just get along and stuff, guys? Just get along.
After she tweeted that, ISIS just put down their guns and went back home.
I would. That was so compelling. I mean, 140 characters. Come on, guys.
She ought to go over there and see how that works out.
Do a benefit concert. You know, we talked about this.
The behead Katy Perry concert.
We've talked about this numerous times on the show. You're bringing people who, they come from societies where women are not allowed to go out in public without a man.
Yeah.
And they have to be covered head to toe.
Yep.
And
if they do, they can be killed for it.
And you bring them to a British pop star's concert who dresses in scantily clad clothes and gyrates on stage.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen? They're just going to, all right, Britney Spears is a thing. I get it now. I've been in Western culture for like 2 years. I totally understand how it works. No, they're going to bring their sensibilities with them. If I moved to China, I wouldn't know how to use chopsticks immediately. I'd be the Western tourist saying, spoon, fork, spork,
well, yeah,
spork.
their ideology is completely different from ours. And, you know, a lot of us on the right don't approve of whorish behavior, dare I say, from a lot of these pop stars and stuff either, but we're not going to go blow them up.
Right, well, we realize it's...
And to their religion and their beliefs, to kill and blow them people up is exactly what they're supposed to do.
To borrow some terminology from Sadiq Khan, that type of behavior in the West is part and parcel for having freedom. We have the ability to say, okay, that's gross, my kid's not going there. They have the ability to do that. That's just how freedom is supposed to work. But as another example of this culture clash from the Express, this is an actual title of an article, a real article about what's happening in France. Muslims urge not to slaughter animals in the streets of France. That has to be an article in 2017.
Yeah, what century is this?
Yeah, like, is this the 6th century, maybe? Hey, it's not sanitary if we do it right there in the street. We got to take a break, and then I'm going to come back, and we're going to talk about this insane article that shows how big of a mistake France made by putting that globalist puppet Macron in instead of the nationalist when they still had a chance. We'll be right back. You're watching The Honest Media. Welcome back to The Honest Media. I'm Tom Pappert here with Craig Crisler. We were talking about what these weird news articles coming out and government requests coming out of France. Again, just to read it again from the Express. Muslims urged not to slaughter animals in the streets of France. Actress Brigitte Bardot has led calls for Muslims in France not to slaughter animals in public during this weekend's, I can't say this, Eid celebrations. The animal rights activist has urged the French government to intervene to prevent what she, and this is her quote, barbarism, and work towards appeasement, asking instead that followers of Islam make sacrifices by giving to the poor. A little white girl telling Islamists what to do, how to practice their religion.
Yeah.
I can't see how this could backfire at all.
Yeah.
I know it's going to be
I
fun.
mean, it's not okay to slaughter animals in the street and dump
have you seen halal-
dump buckets of pee and poop down the street.
Have you seen halal animal slaughter? It is the most sad. Like, in the West, we
I have
have
seen
standards. You stun them and stuff like that. No, they don't. They hang them up, kicking and screaming, and slice their neck open and drain the blood.
Yeah.
It's frankly, as this woman says, rightly, even though I doubt I agree with anything else she said in her life, barbaric. And it goes on, while it is illegal to slaughter an animal publicly, it is allowed for Muslims to go to a slaughterhouse and carry out the act for religious reasons. Yet in this article, there's picture after picture of them doing it wide open in the streets with people watching, and who's going to stop it? Because if you stop it, you're Islamophobic. However, those breaking the law and killing animals outside of mandated areas became such a problem, environmental health departments had to step in to provide bins because sheep carcasses were causing a public health problem. Rotting animal carcasses in the street. You know, France really is just returning to the 6th century, aren't they?
Yeah, I think they trying to avoid something. The Black Plague, remember that?
I don't know. Something swept Europe a few centuries ago. I don't know. So she goes on. She's called for Muslims to avoid making religious sacrifices in public, particularly after the terrorist attacks in Nice and Paris. She said, in a terrible period where barbarism is trying to impose on destroying everything in its path, where the blood of innocence flows, plunging France into mourning, sadness, and anger, it is urgent to work towards appeasement, not to provoke rejection and failure. In a month, the Muslim community will celebrate the sacrifice of Ibrahim. Something along those lines. You know that the Eid al-Adha, goodness, I can even speak Spanish. It's the same vocal pronunciations. It's lost on me today. It's a nightmare for those who defend animals, a horror. Today I speak to you because in those dark times we need peace, not a ritual sacrifice where thousands of sheep will be cut the throat consciously and in suffering. I throw this call to you, for you alone can convey the message of respect. This totally makes no sense, by the way. Like, I can't understand what she's even trying to say here.
Yeah.
Maybe it sounds better in France, but we have to appease people, therefore just don't do it and we'll all be happy. And by the way, I know you're all Muslims and this is your thing, but just don't do it because animal rights. Totally wacky. This is what happens. Again, it's just the culture class we talk about. You bring these people who agree with you on exactly nothing into your cities, into your homes, into your neighborhoods. They're slaughtering sheep en masse in the streets, and all you can say is, but how would the sheep feel about that?
Yeah. the animals' feelings are what's important here, not not the potential for mass disease spread and everything else. And
not to mention, I mean, if you're, in the West, we have delicate sensibilities. We have delicate sensibilities because we have such a wonderful society.
I try to only sacrifice a goat once a month.
And you do it in private, like a good American.
Yeah, in the front yard, at night at least.
But not in the street.
Yeah.
Not in the street. Maybe in the cul-de-sac, but not in the street. But this is just the kind, I mean...
I've seen videos of these.
Imagine being a 5-year-old kid and you walk out front, I'm going to go play. Oh my God! That would scar a kid in the rest of their life. Right, I mean, it's totally nutty. It's totally nutty.
Well, and I've seen video after video of these people literally defecating in like shopping centers on the floor and airports and airplane aisles. They got to have signs that say, do not defecate on the floor here.
Well, it's like in Sweden, they hand out signs saying, hey, please don't rape the women.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the cause. And they hand the women bracelets out that basically say, please don't rape me.
What are them people doing over there? They just walk around and they just drop their pants and poop right in the middle of a Target.
It's the culture class we've been talking about.
It's Stone Age. It's like dealing with cavemen, basically.
And the thing about it is, and this is just how immigration works, the really intelligent ones, the doctors, the lawyers, the everything you could want in a society, engineers, mathematicians, they came here the legal way when the doors were opened by the Democrats in the 70s. That's how they did it, because they said, hey, wait a minute, I have the opportunity to go somewhere way better than this, where Abdul isn't, covering up what he just left in the sand like a dog. And so, hey, I'm going to go do that. My kid's going to found Apple. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
That's how it works. Now, all that's left over there, and again, thanks, Democrats, you ruined these countries by letting the smart people flee instead of fixing their own societies. So now what's left over there is, the average IQ in some of these areas teeters in the low 80s.
Yeah.
We bring them here, we bring the people who are just barely smart enough to get on a raft and sail the 30 miles in the Mediterranean before the Italian Coast Guard will come pick them up and take them here.
Well, and it's not only Democrats to blame, too. I mean,
well, no, the Republicans.
Bush did a big part in ruining the Middle East.
Well, and it goes way back before Bush.
Yeah.
But the fact that the immigration.
In the past 15 years, we've pretty much destroyed every country that was holding the crap
even
together.
Than that.
Yeah.
I mean, it all started with the Shah in Iran.
Yeah.
And
in the past 15 years, we've really done a number over there.
Well, there's
not
there's no argument against that. The United States is left, and this is what Trump talked about. And now it
took out all their top guys that were keeping everybody under control, because they're a bunch of crazy guys too. Right. And now we're just left with even crazier guys.
There are lots of studies that indicate that a society cannot have democracy if the average IQ of the country's population is below 95. Again, we mentioned a minute ago, the average IQ in many of these Middle Eastern nations, not all, there are some exceptions to the rule, is around low, mid-80s.
I've seen in the 50s. But
well, that gets into Africa, like deep parts of Africa. And when you can't have a democracy, so we go in, we institute a democracy, and then people like ISIS, al-Nusra, the Muslim Brotherhood, the list goes on. They take over.
And they don't want a democracy. Their religion doesn't call for a democracy.
No. And we topple half-decent people who at least were reasonable and you did halfway decent things for their people.
Gaddafi was
Hussein,
pretty good.
The Mubarak in Egypt, the list goes on. We topple these people. We try to bring them democracy. Everything gets worse. We say, well, we'll try again next time.
And there's a big thing all them countries had in common. They weren't under the World Bank's power. And now they are.
Gaddafi, well, if those countries even exist, he wanted to institute a competing currency. But we need to take a moment off. You're watching The Honest Media. We will return in just a few minutes. Welcome back to The Honest Media. Speaking of incompatible cultures, There's a guy in the Philippines, the newish leader of the Philippine government, who I'm of course talking about President Rodrigo Duterte, who they've had their own run-ins with ISIS. They have a very pro-Muslim province where ISIS actually basically rebelled. They beheaded a police chief. They've tried to mount a prison riot / mass escape.
And this is all just in the past week or so.
Yes, as everything is happening in the UK, what's happening in the Philippines is being ignored because there's no pop stars involved, frankly. And so this is what...
Yeah, and he's not kissing the butt of the people who did it.
More or less, yeah. And this is how Duterte, a strong... He's not even right-wing, folks. He's not. But a strong...
He's a madman.
Nationalistic leader deals with radical Islamic terrorism when it strikes in his very small country. The Philippines is not a large landmass. Well, it's not one landmass. Lots of little islands. Anyway, Duterte says, spare no one, as Islamic State beheads police chief, stages mass prison break. And this, of course, comes from Breitbart.com. Philippines President Rodrigo Duterte has threatened to expand a 60-day state of emergency in the southern Mindanao to the whole country should the Minute Group, a terrorist organization that has pledged allegiance to the Islamic State, expand its killing spree beyond the island. He goes on, checkpoints will be allowed. Searches will be allowed. Arrest without a warrant will be allowed in Mindanao. Duterte explained, he goes on, and I do not need to secure any search warrant or warrant of arrest. If you are identified positively on either side, you can be arrested or detained. Anyone caught possessing a gun and confronting us, meaning the government, with violence, my orders are to shoot to kill. I will not hesitate to do it. If I think that you should die, you will die. If you fight us, you will die. If there is an open defiance, you will die. He added that he is considering bringing or making it legal for armed citizenry who have legally purchased firearms to take the fight to these people as well. This is how you do it. When Katie Hopkins was saying we need to stop placating these people, we need to rise up, this is what that looks like.
Yeah.
You kill these people, as Trump said in Saudi Arabia, you root them out. If they want to kill you, you kill them right back. Nobody, imagine if Churchill, the first time Hitler came and bombed the neighborhoods of London, said, hashtag not all Germans, hashtag love, hashtag acceptance, hashtag small minority, go on and on and on. How do you think that would have ended, folks? We'd all be speaking German right now, and I say that non-ironically.
Yeah. Well, yeah, this guy, he's not playing games, and he don't mess around. What did he legalize the murder of drug dealers a while back ago when they were just...
Well, on the untold side of that story, that's how the liberal media puts it in. It's, yes, he wanted to legalize the murder and, in fact, encourage the vigilante pursuit of drug dealers who were, in his mind, ruining his culture. Now, what actually happened is more drug addicts and users turned themselves in. They got treatment. They're going to be reintegrated into society. They're not getting criminal punishments.
Yeah.
They're in treatment right now. They're in rehab. And then they'll go back, they'll go into society, everything will be great. The people who refuse to go to the government and turn themselves in, who are still dealing the drugs, they are the ones who are being slaughtered.
Yeah.
And frankly, a lot of them, it's come out, have been Chinese nationals, American nationals, European people. They're coming to, it's like Trump says, they're not sending their best. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, etc. They're doing that in the Philippines too.
Well, this is going to be awesome because I have a feeling that he's going to go in there and just wipe all them people out, all them ISIS cats out. It'll be awesome to see.
Well, and just to conclude, this is how the article ends. Should ISIS surface in the Philippines, Duterte said then, forget about human rights. He continued, I will simply not allow my people to be slaughtered for the sake of human rights. That's BS. Except he didn't censor himself for television. And this is a guy who was not looking forward to getting cozy with China, and he hated the Obama administration. He called the ambassador, I'm pretty sure I can't say that on television, but if you just Google, Duterte called the U.S. ambassador a blank blank of a blank. Funny guy. That was under the Obama administration. As soon as Trump got elected, frankly, November 9th, he released a statement saying, I think that guy and I are going to get along. He likes to curse too. And what do you know? There's been a phone call that by all accounts was friendly. There was a leaked transcript of the phone call, which you can believe or not believe, very friendly, sounded like it's good. So we're not, thanks to President Trump, going to lose an important strategic ally in that part of the world, which I think is
We just need
great.
to release him on all of ISIS all over the world. This guy.
General Duterte of the global anti-ISIS militia. Now, on to some good news. We want to get into this. This segment and our last segment, we're going to talk about all kinds of wonderful things that are happening. And our next comes from EastBayTimes.com, and it is about the alleged bicycle lock professor. And the headline reads, Berkeley College professor arrested as assault suspect. And to be clear, it says that a former Diablo Valley College professor was in custody Wednesday evening after his arrest, Wednesday afternoon in Oakland, according to county records. Eric Clanton, 28, was being held on a $200,000 bail after he was booked into Berkeley City Jail Wednesday evening. He was arrested on suspicion of using a firearm during a felony with an enhancement clause and assault with a non-firearm deadly weapon. This is the kind of guy who teaches schools, and this is what he taught, by the way. He had worked at Diablo Valley College from 2015 on, and it says that he was teaching an introduction to philosophy with a background in teaching ethics, critical thinking, and comparative philosophy east/west with, quote, primary research interests, unquote, of ethics and politics. This is Mr. Bicycle Lock. Allegedly. The internet, for those sitting at home, playing at home, during the Berkeley riots, there was this guy hitting Trump supporters over the head with a bicycle lock, and a lot of folks on the internet believe, from the intelligence agency known as /Poll, believe this guy may be the person who did the bike lock.
That ain't no joke. He was messing people up with that thing.
Oh, he really was.
Yeah.
And frankly,
blood-soaked faces.
You brought up
else.
OJ earlier. I don't care what they got him on. If this guy's off the streets, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Whether or not that was true or not is, of course, up for debate. And of course, Berkeley police were not immediately available to confirm any connection between Clanton's arrest and the social media fueled accusations within the last month about, again, the bicycle lock attacks. We've got to take a moment off. When we come back, we'll talk about a few really great stories at breakneck speed because we are running out of time. You're watching The Honest Media. Welcome back to The Honest Media. Like I said, we've got a lot of stories, so I want to go directly into them, not waste anybody's time. A Democratic senator, anti-Trump resistance is, quote, not persuasive and a, quote, waste of my time. A North Dakota Democratic senator has distanced herself from the virulent don't do anything resistance movement against President Trump, saying it is, quote, a waste of my time. She told the Greater North Dakota Chamber of Commerce last week that the resistance movement against the president is, again, a waste of time. She said, there are two things happening that I think really challenge us, meaning Democrats across the nation. She said in a video posted by NTK Network. Quote, one is the resist movement, which is, nothing. Just resist, right? Don't do anything, just resist. She continued, well, I think that's a waste of my time. Would I be there if all I'm there to do is say no? So that's not persuasive. And she's getting blowback from this, but frankly, she's right. And in this show, I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, whatever. We're going to give credit where credit's due. It's like last week we talked about crazy Nancy Pelosi, who again was absolutely 100% correct when she said impeachment was a non-starter. This woman is completely correct. Again, She couldn't be more right. Rob Port, who runs North Dakota's Say Anything politics site, told the Washington Times that this is a smart move from Heitkamp. While her comments may alienate some North Dakota Democrats, and she'll probably get some backlash from that quarter, it's not really those voters she needs to convince. And of course, she is from an area that is highly Republican. So, hey, if she's going to be decent, if she's going to be the Tip O'Neill to President Trump's Ronald Reagan, I'm all the happier.
Yeah. Imagine these Democrats not wasting their time on demonizing Russia and maybe trying to fix the homeless problem, the drug epidemic problem,
right,
et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
The fact that we have a completely unsecured borders, I would love to see Democrats.
Yeah.
We don't have to agree on everything. We're never going to. But I would love to see Democrat
Why do we
Congresspeople
have
actually
tens of
doing their job.
thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of homeless people on the street? There's no reason for that.
Because Republicans are bigots, Craig.
Yeah.
That's the reason for everything. All right, so we're going to go now to what I think is a good story, just because I love that used car salesman smile, from former presidential candidate Mitt Romney. This is from UtahPolicy.com. Sources: Hatch, who is a senator, considering retiring in 2018, Romney seriously interested in replacing him. Hatch has previously said that he was going to probably not run again, especially if somebody worthy, in his words, is going to come up and take his spot. Mitt Romney, who, did you know he was 70 years old? The guy, I don't know what he does to his hair to get that. You ever see Paulie on The Sopranos? I don't know what he does to steal his look. It's a lot of shoe polish.
Yeah,
but I know Mitt
He
said
looks
a lot
good
of,
for a 70-year-old.
It's all
that salt.
It's the it's all the Botox in the shoe polish. I have no idea if he's had any work done. But so that is the thought that may be happening. We may have Senator Mitt Romney, which again, I'm not a big fan of Mitt Romney.
Yeah.
He stabbed President Trump in the back when he went and called him all those disgusting names. The president then trolled him expertly by telling everybody or leaking to everybody that he was going to be chosen as Secretary of State.
Had him out for the dinner.
Mitt Romney he sounded like a girl who was reporting back to his parents. Oh, I had a lovely dinner with Donald.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful time. And then Trump passed him over, and it was great.
Well, if he's going to run, he's going to have to dust off all them binders of women he has.
That's right, binders full of them. But what I'm excited about is Mittens the kitten was just an endless source of comedic value. He could be a permanent Jeb Bush.
Yeah.
And that, frankly, is something I think we should all get behind. All right, so now this is what I wanted to end the show with, because I think it's just, it's a totally phony, crummy article from the usual suspects, The Guardian.
No,
but
boy.
I just love it. I love it. I love every bit of it. I love this piece of fake news. And it's titled, "America's Obsession with Rooting Out Communism is Making a Comeback."
Yeah, it's we're all firing up the rotors with Pinko shades.
That's right. That's where we've already got, like, this is the perfect headline. But then you read the article and it's, what do you expect? But this is the article. It was a scene straight out of the 1950s, but the year was 2017. Travis Allen, a Republican from Southern California, took to the floor of the state assembly on 8th of May to denounce communism. Quote, "To allow subversives and avowed communists who now work for the state of California," he railed, "is a direct insult to the people of California who pay for that government." He goes on, or the article goes on, Allen was speaking out against a move to remove language from the California Code that bars members of the Communist Party from holding government jobs in the Senate, which I heard, I haven't verified this information, but the current governor of California was once a member of the Communist Party. I mean, he's not saying anything that's not true here.
Yeah.
But the fake news article continues. Anti-communist language remains on the books in several states, and in California at least, it's not going anywhere. After facing backlash from Republicans, veterans, and the Vietnamese American community, the bill's sponsor, the Democratic Assemblyman Rob Bonta, announced last week that he would not move forward with the bill. So basically what they want to do is allow official communists, members of the Communist Party, to run for elected office in California. This is...
I think they're already in.
Yeah, but they're not, they don't have a C next to their name.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. We're not being tolerant to communism. Those people who killed 150, 200 million people in the last century.
Like
we're just,
500 million.
We're just not being tolerant enough to the C. The big. Do you think they would just put the hammer and sickle next to their name on CNN? I think CNN would love to do that.
That should be the new California state flag, just the hammer and sickle.
The hammer and sickle.
Stabbing a bear.
And this is, of course, where the fake news kicks in. I've been called a commie. I've been told to go back to China. I've had death threats, Bonta told The Guardian. He described as ironic and curious the fact that one of his Republican opponents was wrapping himself in the flag while supporting a law that blatantly violates our First Amendment rights. Communists are just like you and me, except they're not people.
Yeah.
So.
Pretty sure the only good commie is a dead commie. I heard that somewhere once.
That seems like an old adage to me. I think it's true. And of course, then they bring Russia into it, saying, I wonder if Republicans have a different opinion on Russia, if maybe they'll be more receptive. My hope is that they will change the tune on whether people should be discriminated against for their political beliefs. Maybe they can talk to their Russian friends about that. Just totally bonkers.
Yeah, how about they go talk to their Chinese friends about that?
Which, we talked about this on the show before. The left loved Russia when it was communist. As soon as communism failed in Russia, then the left has to hate Russia because it's proof that their fantasy is never going to work.
But they have no problem with China now.
No problem with China at all, which actually is only communist in name. They have a dictator and all that, but frankly, it's a very capitalistic country. If
I
you can
think
play the
it's
rules.
a pretty big crap hole.
Are you talking about their mobile toilets? All right, we should probably wrap it up there before Xi Jinping comes after us.
Throw him out of a helicopter too.
Before he, I don't even know what the Chinese have. I don't want to know what the Chinese have. But yeah, so this is the article I wanted to close with because, even though it's a fake news article about, this poor guy, he just wants to run as a communist. Oh, this poor fellow. I just love the headline, and I love the fake news article that we should all be worried about America's obsession with rooting out communism making a comeback. This has been The Honest Media. As always, you can find us on Facebook, you can find us on YouTube, you can find us on Twitter, and read all of our articles on thehonestmedia.com. Thank you for watching.